figure out how I'm gonna finish this double exposure. You gotta love guys dancing with beers in the morning. We're cut from the same cloth. Something simple. Oh, I accidentally hit the shutter. That is a, what do you call it, premature exposure. Damn it. Bizarre little moment. I think they're selling mobile phone service. So much for finding a quiet place to record. It worked. The megaphone thing worked. That dude's got that blaring megaphone, and some guy came flying out of his apartment and was like, "Hey, I think I need that service. Tell me more." Who would have thunk that? It was the most annoying thing in the world, and yet for some guy it was like honey. It was like miel for his ears. Hey, wow, whoa, phone service. Man, I gotta go get me some of that. It was incredible. I don't know anything about marketing apparently. 13 years in the marketing department. I still don't know anything. I'm sucking wind today for some reason. So, up above Cusco, got a little White Christ figure action on the hillside. Take a look at the sky today, and man, did we luck out. It is absolutely crazy. It's going from rain to sun, rain to sun. It's Sunday afternoon up at a place called Sacsayhuaman, which is one of the big ruin complexes above Cusco, and the families are out on the weekend. They're having picnics, they're playing football. I mean, families are playing football in the middle of these ancient ruins. This is the third time I've seen this, third trip to Peru, third time I've been up here, and it's just absolutely a photographic gold mine. I absolutely love this place. This is a place you could spend a lot of time at, and what you can't see, maybe if I spin around this way behind me, not really, but you have a complete overview of the entire city of Cusco, and it's fantastic, and for double exposures in particular, lots and lots and lots to work with. Yeah, I'll admit, I'm a little out of breath. This place is insane. It's just the best place for late afternoon Sunday. People, all different kinds of people come. Indigenous folks, local folks, young, old, families. They come and they hang out in these ruins. They picnic. They tell stories. It's absolutely fantastic. And yeah, it's high, but holy crap, look at this place. By the way, when you see me shoot and then look down, I'm not chimping. I'm looking down for the second button, the menu button, which when you're shooting doubles, the first exposure stays in the frame. And when you hit the menu button, it leaves that first exposure, and then you can recompose into your second, third, fourth, whatever. So I'm not looking down and chimping to look at the image. I'm looking for the button, because the buttons on the back, there's 4, very small, and under the pressure of your thumb, they can feel similar. The 4th button is the button you press when you say, I'm done with this multiple exposure, I want to move on to a fresh one. So I find myself needing to look down and sort of double check what button I'm pressing, because I'm not really much of a chimper. All right, now that I'm gasping for air again, I figured this was the perfect opportunity to mention something I've said many times before, now that I'm at Sacsayhuaman, where I probably just made 30 multiple exposures I like. That is incredibly rare. Let me remind all of you, and myself for that matter, great photography is incredibly rare. I was sitting in LA one time having lunch or breakfast with one of the most famous photographers I've ever met. This is during my era at Kodak. He had a 40+ year career. And I was trying to ask him about this concept of a life list of images that actually meant something. And before I could get my sentence out, he looked at me and he said, about a dozen images. And what he meant was his 40-year career could have been summed up by about 12 images. When you think about photography in that sort of skill level, that refinement, editing, putting the screws to your work at that level, what we're doing today by just diarrea de la boca of just putting tons and tons and tons of images out into the world all the time, it belittles photography, it belittles the experience, the practice, everything else. But it makes you start to think that the stuff you're putting out is really good, when in actuality, if you're producing work at that rate, just let me be the first one to tell you, it's not. Nobody in the history of the world is able to produce work at that kind of rate. So yeah, now I'm completely out of breath, and I've got another 40 minutes to work this scene before I gotta run. And I'm gonna walk back into town. Got a little dinner reservation. This is only a part of Sacsayhuaman, and this is the head of an enormous jaguar that stretches from here. The body of the jaguar goes all the way into the city of Cusco and goes all the way down to the south side of the city where these two rivers join together. They built this in 1430. Think about that. No drones, no CAD, no Photoshop, no nothing. They built this in 1430, and they built something on that scale where this entire area, what you're seeing in front here, this is just a piece of what was the head of the jaguar. It's mind-blowing. Look at this light, people. Good grief. It is just a perpetually changing tapestry, canvas of light and stone. It's almost like this entire valley back here has a glow to it. Look at the side of my face. Look at the modeling on the light on my face. Got this huge bank of softbox-like clouds, but it's throwing a pretty solid beam of light, if you will. It's really nice and contrasty. And we got so fortunate with these skies, because if this was direct sun, this would have been kind of a nightmare, because at 11,000 feet, even if it's cold out, it's probably in the low 60s right now, but with sun at 11,000 feet, it feels like you're in an oven. And God, I don't have a lens for it, and I can't show you on this, but there's two people on a hilltop between me and the massive mountain range in the background. And the sun hitting those mountains. God, I gotta just shoot this for the hell of it, just so you guys are gonna laugh when you see how wide that is. But was that an action shot? That was an action shot. Holy crap. So man, what a trip. Today was just a little over 2 weeks for me. Got a little less than a week left. It feels like I have been gone for months. Like, it feels like Blurb probably forgot I'm an employee, and then somebody at payroll is going to be looking, and they're going to be like, who's this guy? Who's cashing these checks? Who's this guy in New Mexico? Do we actually still employ him? Because I feel like I've been gone for months, and that's a byproduct of not traveling enough where it feels even more exotic than it is, although that sounds absurd because I'm literally in a ruin complex from 1430. I'm just going to shut up now. I'm just going to shut up. I'm the only one right here. Got the whole place. By the way, this valley, this is 50% of the ruin. 50% of what's here is still underground that hasn't been excavated. Crazy. Think about that. It's insane. I'm not a math guy. That seems like a lot. I said I was going to shut up, but I lied. I forgot to mention this earlier when I was talking about the degree of difficulty of photography. I was looking at work earlier with one of the students. He's a full-time filmmaker, photographer. Really good. Talented, hence being full-time. We all shot this sort of event that was transpiring in the street a couple of days ago. And these street things are really difficult because there's so much chaos in the scene in front of you that your really only goal is to try to find some sort of clarity within that clutter. So he had done a good job going through editing. Oh, I've already been in. I'm leaving. Momentito.
Gracias.
Almost busted. Had my ticket. Anyway, he'd done a really good job editing because he shoots and edits all the time. So he'd broken everything into different folders and it was, easy and concise to go through. This one particular event, he probably culled, it was a wide edit, 30 to 40 frames. And this is no reflection of him, his talent or his ability. For me, there was one frame of the entire folder that worked, and it didn't have anything to do with the event. It was a peripheral image that just happened to pass, he happened to pass and make the picture. So I think, again, we've created this weird photo world now where the bulk of what we're doing is supposed to be somehow valuable, usable, etc. But I think that that's a really dangerous ideology to have, because go back to that guy, my buddy, my famous photographer friend who's like, yeah, about a dozen images for my entire 40 years, miserable 40 effing years as a photographer. Finally, a little rain in Cusco. These are pre-Incan salt terraces, 600 to 800 years old. Last time I was here, we started here and we walked through the middle of it on the little sort of ridges of the canals and tanks. Don't think we're doing that this year, but this is a very interesting place. And this is where the Quechua word, in the English language we say jerky, but that comes actually from Quechua language. And that's they have a similar pronunciation, and the Incas were the first to exploit this place, really exploit it, and they used the salt to cure their meats, which is where the word jerky comes from. Oh my God, I'm in heaven. Looks like about an 86 Corolla with a lift kit, snow tires, and the exhaust tied on by a little piece of fabric. I know I'm in the Sacred Valley and I'm supposed to be looking at the mountains, but there's nothing better than this. So, this is an Incan agricultural testing site where some of the information known about this is pretty well flushed out, but there's still a lot of mystery to be involved here. This is one of the smaller areas. There's 4 separate areas where they think that they were growing crops that these 4 areas like you're looking at here, they represented the 13 microclimates of the Andes, and they were trying to figure out what crops to grow where at what elevation. And so I was here 12 years ago. There's a few more restrictions on the site now, which is actually a good thing, because otherwise people would probably trash it like they have other places, because that's what we do. I just saw a hooded siskin. Please alert the media. This wind noise might blow it because it's pretty windy here. Oddly enough, I'm in the middle of the high Andes and it's a little bit windy. These places, these architectural sites and things like this, I absolutely love coming to these places. I love seeing them. I love trying to get an idea what they are, what they mean, what the significance is. But they're always challenging photographically, because historically I've always been more of a people snapper. So I have to adapt. We are at about 15,000 feet up in the Andes at just above a weaving village called Panchar, which is, if I know the name correctly, it's the Puma's place. And I've been here a couple times before. It feels like you're actually really in the Andes when you're up here. The terracing, the rock work, the scale, it's incredible. And Panchar is a weaving village that works in part in a cooperative with a nonprofit out of Seattle. And they work with the women to sell their wares down at lower elevations like in Ollantaytambo. And the women basically create the vast majority of the clothing they wear. They weave, and when I say they weave, they shear the animals, they spool it, they clean it, and they weave patterns based that they've been weaving for hundreds of years. And also now through the nonprofit, they weave patterns that are desired by other people, other places. Yeah, it's about 15,000 feet. So even walking downhill, you can definitely feel the elevation, but the light and the clouds and the scale of these valleys is what is so magical. And again, I'm not a landscape photographer. You guys know that by now. But just aiming your camera pretty much in any direction up here, you suddenly feel like you're a landscape photographer, even though you're going to get back and look at them and say, okay, well, how am I going to do this, or what am I going to use these for? Because I am who I am, here I am in the middle of the Andes, and what I'm thinking about is the book that I'm going to make from this trip, and how I'm going to lay that out, and how I'm going to edit that, and using both double exposures and straight images, and a lot of the notes in the copy that I've been making along the way. So it's all the puzzle is starting to come together in my head. We're doing about a little 15-minute walk downhill just for the heck of it, get a little exposure. It's about a 30-degree temperature difference from Ollantaytambo to up here, which was welcome because Ollantaytambo was hot, and they also are experiencing, like many other places in the world, they're experiencing a pretty significant drought here. There's now water restrictions in Cusco, Ollantaytambo. They're turning water off for large parts of the day to try to conserve, and that is not good, and they don't think they're going to get out of it until November. Is this necklace too much? Is it not enough? We are now in a hailstorm up in the mountains at the Weaving Village. Dropped. What do you think? Temps 30 degrees. 30 degrees since we left town.
Oh yeah. Yeah. In the last 10 minutes.
Yep. And it feels kind of good actually. But yeah, man, the valley's just getting hammered by hail. Red camera. Name and identification.
Camera or me?
Either one.
Alex Palumbo.
What kind of camera?
Red Komodo.
Red Komodo.
Covered in rain.
Slightly different than the Go Insta 3 that I'm using. But he gave me a DaVinci Resolve quiz earlier. Now I'm kind of an expert on it. Because as you all know, I'm kind of a tech savant.
Yeah. come into the textile center here, into this thatched hut area. So we can go ahead and start entering into.
Okay, I'm at Machu Picchu. This is my 5th time coming up to Machu Picchu. It's starting to rain. Been here for about 4.5 hours, but you're never going to believe what I just saw. Did I see thousands of tourists? Yes. Did I see amazing cloud forest? Yes. Did I see some of the most incredible, mind-blowing, even after 5 trips, stonework, design, simplicity, just incredible stonework in the history of the world? Did I see that? Yes. But I also just saw 2 chinchillas in the rocks doing it. Oh yeah, there's going to be baby chinchillas all over this thing because I came around a corner, 2 chinchillas just going at it. And that is frankly something I had never seen, nor did I expect to see it at Machu Picchu. But there it was a bit voyeuristic. Did I feel bad? Not really, but I could tell they kind of froze up when I walked around and exposed them. And yeah, Machu Picchu, no matter how many times you come here, no matter how many times you see it. Someone asked me earlier, was I happy about coming back because I'd been here so many times before? And the short answer is absolutely. I don't really know how to describe this place still. On the first day of the workshop, I provided students with a list of 8 words that I think are critical to being a documentary photographer and critical to being on a trip that is photocentric, where you could easily lose yourself in the photography. The first word on the list was experience. Don't do what I did, which is spend 25 years of my life so dominated by photography that I forgot to experience the places where I was, places like Machu Picchu. So today on the train ride from Ollantaytambo, I just sort of stepped back a little bit when it came to the photography, and I just took in my surroundings and what was actually happening. For example, the transition between the Andes and the high jungle, which is what Machu Picchu is located in, the wildlife, the birds, the incredible birds along the route, and just basically take in the experience of being here without having to frame every single moment of every day, because I realized I'd been up this hill 4 times, and there were some of the most basic ingredients of what this place is and was that I either forgot or I never paid attention to in the first place, because all I could think about was trying to make the best images possible. So, and the other thing is, a student asked me, what the heck am I supposed to do with 200 pictures from Machu Picchu? I said, well, number 1, you're not going to share them. And number 2, you're not going to put them all on your phone and try to show people all the images you made at Machu Picchu, because they're going to hate you. Let me just say this. When you hand somebody your phone, or you turn your phone around and you go, oh, I really want to show you something, an image, they don't want to see it. And maybe even if it's like your grandmother and she says she wants to see it, she only wants to see 1, not 20 pictures, and doesn't want to wait for you to find them. So you got 200 pictures of Machu Picchu. Take your time, pace it, find the 1 or 2 that represent you and your unique perspective on the place. Okay, the plan was to fly from Cusco to Lima to Miami to Phoenix to Albuquerque all in one day, and then drive to Santa Fe. If all went well, it was 24 hours of travel. What could possibly go wrong? Actually, nothing went wrong. It literally worked, We flew from Cusco to Lima to Miami to Phoenix to Albuquerque, all in one day, stopped for Mexican food, and then drove to Santa Fe. I couldn't believe it. It worked. Now, we did have to sprint the entire length of the D terminal in Phoenix with a 25-minute connection time, but we made it and got all the way back. I'm back in New Mexico. It feels good. I've got my white shirt on, which probably is glowing at this point. Don't get used to it. It won't be white for long. My Peru trip is over. 3 weeks. Felt like 3 months. That's what happens on these trips. You see so many things. You cover so much ground. There's so many planes, trains, and automobiles and getting around here and there. Fantastic class, fantastic group of people, incredible experience. Thanks to my teaching partner, Adam, for being the mastermind of putting this trip together. And thanks to all the students for putting in a really good effort photographically. It's always fun to watch people navigate the world with a camera. And I'm back. It feels good to be here. And I hope you enjoyed the Peru series much more. So what happened is I came home, I opened my suitcase, and the smell that emanated from the suitcase was considerable. It was pungent. It smelled like pure gasoline. It burned the nostrils. It smelled like the inside of a fake leg. And I washed everything, put it in nice, neat stacks, thinking I would put it away in the closet. And what I did is I put it right back in the suitcase. And I have a sinking suspicion that my life just went from COVID time travel to pre-COVID time travel. And with trips to France next month, potentially Antarctica over the holiday, Lebanon, Jordan, Spain, and more, I have a sinking suspicion I'm going to be on the road a lot more. And speaking of suitcase, this was my first trip with my new suitcase, which took an absolute beating, by the way, and was completely spotless until the last flight when I had to gate check it. And man, I don't know, somebody had some seriously bad mojo towards my bag and it took an absolute beating. But I'll share that all in good time, people. Hope you enjoyed the Peru series. It was a great trip. I love making these vlogs to show you what little bit of behind the scenes of what happens. And glad to be home. Adios.